Nope.
2, wastewater.
So,
Can you make sure everybody's mics are on, please?
On. Is that the
It's
on
on.
this issue? Okay.
there's one revision that I would propose to
Thank you.
the resolution that talks about the records management officer. I would recommend, I know we have the village clerk's name in there, I would recommend it be village clerk, so it's the position, not the person. So I would just make that recommendation, it doesn't change substantively what the board is going to do tonight, but that is the appropriate way to document it.
Certainly. Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant supervisor approval.
We, Trustee Twitchell and I had a chance to interview him last week, I believe. There were 2 candidates, and he was far and away the most appropriate candidate for that position. He's got almost enough hours, apparently, to be permanently appointed. He should have that early spring.
Okay.
So I think he'll be quite the benefit to the village. We're lucky to have someone with his qualities.
Thank you. And thank you to both trustees for handling that. Official bank designation. 5, official newspaper designation. Number 6 is the proposed schedule of workshops for 2024.
I do want to talk about that. I really think we're taking the ability to people to come to an open meetings law by having it at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Most people are working. From what I understand, this is not going to be filmed, this meeting. You have to be open to the public. This is, I don't think it should be this way. I really feel that our meeting should be like what we're having tonight, with the workshop and then the meeting, so the public all can be here to hear what we have to say. Because at the workshop, just what we're doing now, going over all this, nobody will hear our comments. Nobody would hear my comments right now. I mean, I feel that you're taking away information from the public by not having it.
Not the intention, and also has been
That's
done
right.
by multiple mayors of this village
I
and
don't think
past
it was
presidents
right.
of this village for many years, and very successful with regards to sharing information.
Well, I believe this diminishes the public from the public meeting.
Duly noted.
I mean, it doesn't say that the public can't come.
It's open to the public.
Yeah, it's still open.
Yeah, well, they're working. People have already called me about it.
Okay.
So I'm just addressing what my constituents have pointed out. And by the open meetings law, Trustee Syracuse, everything should be put in front of the public as we are right now. So all these people can hear what we have to say. And I believe this is discriminating the public from being able to come to that meeting.
One of the reasons why I proposed that is, being a resident here for over 35 years and coming to many of these or watching these meetings, part of the reputation of past administrations is kicking the can down the road because we're unprepared to vote on things. Looking back at how other mayors have handled this situation, you get to talk about it. They are indeed open to the public. If that particular time is not convenient, the time can always be changed. But it also gives you, if the meeting is on a Wednesday or a Monday, it also gives you the opportunity for 7 days of getting the answers you need. So when you walk in the door the following Monday, you have a better than average chance of making a decision and not holding up the residents and the work of the people. So that's why it was proposed, and certainly.
May I say something
You may.
about that? I believe that you have 2 weeks in between each meeting, and that gives you a lot more time. And since you're going to be changing that we have to have resolutions in the Monday before the Monday of the meeting, that shortens your time. And 2 weeks to talk about it at a workshop will give you plenty of time to proceed with your resolutions if you want to tighten that up and do it on a Monday.
Well, I will expect to see less tabling of resolutions at these meetings,
It's-
and we will
it's-
talk about it.
I think we
Sure
need to
thing.
keep in mind that the laws for the submission of resolutions was passed a couple years ago. We haven't, this board and the prior board wasn't following that as closely as we should have. This isn't something Mike dreamed up. This is something that a couple prior boards passed. So we're just following the rules that were already set in place as far as when resolutions need to be.
For Wednesday to be the meeting, the workshop?
No, in that, February 10th, 2020 resolution.
Right.
Number 3, resolution sponsored by one or more
Exactly.
trustees shall be submitted by 1 PM on the Monday or 1 week prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting.
And we haven't been following that for the past 2 years.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't follow it from here going forward.
But, see, that's my argument, John, or trustee Esperson.
You can call me John, it's fine, it's my name.
It's okay, this is a formal meeting.
Okay.
I'll address you as trustee Esperson.
All right.
I believe that the public should be here as they are right now to witness what we have to say in a workshop. And I see people shaking their heads yes.
Okay. On another thing on that resolution, should that be the Dunkirk Observer instead of the Jamestown Post Journal was authorized and published said notice in the said schedule of DOE and Jamestown Post Journal? Should that be the Observer? Okay. I asked because I'm reading it and
Also on the docket tonight is approval to hire a full-time police officer. And finally, number 8, emergency dispatcher approval.
yeah, we hired a dispatcher, but that candidate chose to apply services elsewhere.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Trustee Esperson, you don't have to read it, it's just up for discussion. We're not passing it.
which one?
The one, the February 2020.
Hold on.
It's under old business, so it can be brought up for discussion, but it's already a law.
I was
Oh,
talking.
he was talking about
I
the
was
scheduled
referring to
workshops.
the, yeah. The resolution number 6,
Oh, I
schedule
apologize.
workshops.
Oh, okay,
where it
sorry.
says, no, it's all right.
Okay.
Okay, on department reports, code enforcement officer. Anything to report tonight?
Submitted my monthly report, we read at the meeting.
Okay. Someone reading that report for him?
I'll be reading.
You'll be,
Mhm.
right.
Scott.
DPW,
He's
I
not-
believe Scott is
Yeah.
off today. Fire department,
Good evening, the only thing I'll mention is we're still supposed to get some, high winds tomorrow morning through Wednesday morning. It's gonna be pretty sizable storm, they're saying about 70% or 70-mile-an-hour winds, which probably will affect our area, just seeing which direction it's coming from, so. We all have National Grid in the area, so report any outages, it's 1-800-867-5222. And then obviously 911 for any down wires. Thank you.
thank you, chief. The police department,
The one thing I like to make the board aware of is that on one of our patrol cars, that engine, the engine blew. It needed to be rebuilt. We just came in under manufacturer's warranty, so Underling Springville helped us out, and we were able to have about $8,000 in repairs done at a minimum. It was probably a couple $100 because we had to tow the vehicle there and pay for some parts. But I just want to make you aware of that.
Was that the SUV?
Yes, it was.
That's one of the older ones, right?
It is the oldest, but it would be the next one to go. But I make you aware. I mean, we put $1,000 into it the week before on the radiator and everything. It's just, I bring it up because come budget time, I always ask you for cars. And they only got so much life in them, and then it just shows you how fast they can end up on the box, so.
What year
But
is
it's
that one?
important.
Chief?
It's a 2021, and it has 90,000 miles on it. So, but that's all I have. I just wanna make you aware of those things.
Thank you, Chief, we appreciate it. Recreation Department,
Not here. COVID.
okay, thank you. Wish you well. By the way, this is being recorded tonight, because we are preempted by local basketball. So, this is being recorded and will be played back as soon as the basketball game is finished. So, we wish you well, hope you feel better. Wastewater treatment plant,
He's retired, and the guy starting Thursday? Yep. Thursday.
and the water treatment plant as well. Lewis,
Webster Tank is in service and fully operational.
congratulations, thank you
Wow.
for that. Appreciate that. Under new business, Town of Pomfret workshop with Village regarding phase 2 and 3 of the North End Water District expansion. I believe we're waiting on an agreed upon date for that meeting, correct?
Was that, called for by Town Pomfret?
Town of Pomfret.
Yes.
Actually, it was Supervisor Pecos that asked for that. Festivals Fredonia, future dates for the 2024 schedule of events. Do we need to go through that?
If the board wishes to do so, yep.
Do you wish to go through those dates?
There'll be a resolution next week, right?
Right,
The
next meeting.
resolution came in too late to get it on
Right.
Okay.
today's agenda, so.
Trustee committee assignments for the next year.
I'll pass those down, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I did want to point out to you, you have 3 trustees on personnel. Now, that's a quorum. You should only have 2 names there.
That's understandable. The reason why that name is there is I agreed to come to some of these meetings to learn more about the departments. Even though last week was my first week officially, 4 days of being the new mayor, I have been in Village Hall. Thank you very much for the transition. Former Mayor Essick, who's here tonight, has transitioned, helped out greatly. And I've met most, if not all, of the department heads and some of their team. But that third name is there not as a consistent attendee. I'm not here to overmanage our department heads. They're very good at what they do. It's merely here to observe and learn more about the individual
I'd
departments.
have to point out that that's 2 trustees, that's not a quorum.
Yeah,
This,
that's 2 trustees and the mayor.
okay, this is something new. The one he handed me was trustee Wandel, Syracuse, and Esperson. So that's why I was questioning it.
Did you get the one that was just passed
If you wanna
out?
look at this.
We just sent you one that just got
Did you get the
passed
one that
out.
just
There were
got
some
passed out?
changes to the assignments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Zoning Court and Enforcement, trustees Twitchell and Wandel. Finance and Insurance, trustees Wandel and Brockler. Public Works, trustees Esperson and Wandel. And as you mentioned on personnel, trustees Wandel, trustees Syracuse, and my name is there, again, only if and when needed, and also to learn about the processes and procedures of working with the department. And I thank you both for agreeing to work with those departments. Business development in downtown, that's something a little bit new. The key to success in any community is to have a strong business community. We're very proud of the fact that we don't have very many empty storefronts in our downtown. So it'd be absolutely wonderful not only to fill those, but also support the current businesses that are in the community. And let them know that we do support them. There's some grants available for them that will help them not only to continue to grow, but sustain themselves. So we want to look at different business opportunities for the community. As you know, the Village of Fredonia doesn't have a lot of shovel-ready opportunity here. So a win for Dunkirk, a win for Pomfret is with regards to whether it be agriculture or manufacturing is a win for Fredonia. Those are Fredonia jobs. So we have to keep our downtown strong. We have to keep it looking good. We have to keep it ready for not only our visitors, but for our many, many residents that choose to shop downtown on a regular basis. So that's Trustee Esperson and Trustee Brockler, who is, in case you don't know, Trustee Brockler is a business owner in downtown core. So public safety is myself and Trustee Esperson. Parks and Recreation is Trustee Syracuse, Trustee Ferguson. Sewer and Water is Trustee Syracuse and Esperson. And Public Safety, which will be a combination of police and fire, will be myself and Trustee Esperson. There are special committees and liaisons. Community Access and Cable will be Trustee Twitchell. Barker Library, Trustee Twitchell, and the Opera House, Trustee Twitchell. I believe you requested those, correct?
That's correct.
Good, and thank you for the work you've done on those in the past.
Thank you.
SUNY Fredonia will be myself and Trustee Esperson. We are obviously will have other rotations of other trustees. You can tell that our college is going through many different changes in the course of this month and for future months to come. It is essential to our community that we continue to grow those relationships with our college, that we continue to encourage engagement, not only between the college and its professors and its management, but also between the community and its students. Nothing would please me more to find students that attended SUNY Fredonia find that Fredonia, New York is a great place to start their careers and raise their families. So we welcome that, and we'll continue to work on strengthening those situations. And we will go, when we go to the NICOM convention next month, we're bringing 3, if not more, of our biggest topics to New York. And that's going to be the stability and long-term sustainability of SUNY Fredonia. We'll be talking and working with officials to secure our hospital, break ground with that hospital. Hospital is essential to any successful community and successful to the growth of any community. We thank everybody who has worked on getting the hospital here so far, and we hope that we can work together with our area residents and our trustees and our current hospital administrators to get that job done and see ground broken shortly. And I believe the key is not to demand the monies from New York, but to work together cooperatively to get those, dry mouth, sorry, cooperatively to get those monies and funds that they so need. Town of Pomfret will be myself, Trustee Esperson, and Trustee Brockler. Community organizations, I'm going to ask our trustees to take the time to stop in and see these organizations that are working so hard for our community, things that they're doing for our community, get to know them. There's been misconceptions in the past that not this board, but past boards and past leadership has gotten in the way of organizations, and we want to assure them that that's not the case. And so we will support their efforts, and I'm asking that we have a rotating schedule of trustees to stop by and see those groups like Festivals Fredonia, Embrace Fredonia, our different civic organizations in the community, our veterans associations, so that they know that we are behind them 100%. Zoning Board, great group of folks. They do a very good job, so I don't think that they need much help from us, but we are certainly there for them when they need us. Our Planning Board, comprehensive planning. There's wonderful people that have dedicated time and energy into putting together a comprehensive plan. We need to keep that plan in the forefront of our decision-making and know that our decision-making not only affects now, tomorrow, but is going to affect this community for the next 10, 15, 20 years, and hopefully the years of our great-grandchildren, so that they don't have to worry about things like water, like electricity, like essentials, and also affordable housing, and the many other things that not only affect this community, but affect every community across the country, and especially here in New York State. So We're also looking at a Citizens Advisory Committee. We will be holding open door hours to the public, to the public. And much like former mayors, I respect the time that they thought was a great time for the public to come in. So we will continue our Wednesday morning open door policy for citizens to be able to come in and say hello and share your concerns. And even good news, that'd be great every now and then if you can come in and tell us something that's been happening. We also have a New York Main Street grant that's coming up that requires us to have community committees. I welcome community committees. So we'll be announcing those and those opportunities for you when they become available. Is there anything to be brought up at this time in the workshop session?
Mr. Mayor, I did note that I am only on one committee out of all these committees. And when you did gave me this information last week, I was on Parks and Recreation, and I was also on Public Safety, and I've been removed from both of those. So I was on 3 of these committees, and now I'm only on 1. So I'd like to ask, why was that?
We had just made changes on the where we were going with what people we were going to put in there. It wasn't anything intentional, but that's also why you're on the special committees and liaisons of those other committees that you have on there.
I just think it's unfair that I'm only on one
I'd be
of
more
these.
than happy to talk to you about adding you to ones that you feel.
I see you have yourself on Parks and Recreation. Could I not only be on that too?
I'd be willing to do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly. My only reason for being on Parks and Recreation is the background. I've done that quite a bit. My background has been sports and recreation and that type of thing in many of the different areas of my experience, and just felt that you could be a help there.
Okay, and my other question for you is, I did want to remain on the Fire Committee, and that would be under Public Service. And you have yourself and Trustee Esperson. I'd also like to be on that committee.
Well, let's take a review of that after we've had a chance to get some of these underway.
There should be
Okay.
2 trustees. That's all I'm pointing out. And you
Okay.
did have me on it before.
Pardon? Okay. I'll be happy to talk to you about that after the meeting.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
no problem. I'm open to talking to you about that.
Thank you.
Okay, like taking a look at Southern Tier West dues and membership. That's coming up for renewal, so we'll be talking about that tonight. And then any other new business at that time.
Yes, you mentioned NICOM. If everybody who is planning to attend could let Anne Marie know by Monday, so you can register us
Yes.
and, get everything set.
Do we have to have a resolution to approve?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why everything needs to be in by Monday, so she knows how much that resolution is gonna be.
Okay, that would be great.
If you wouldn't mind, Trustee Syracuse, and I don't know if, Michelle, have you gone to those as well? I'm sorry,
Yes.
Michelle, Trustee Twitchell and Trustee Esperson. If you've gone to those, if you wouldn't mind explaining to the public what NICOM is.
So it's a conference, NICOM stands for the New York Conference of Mayors. So mayors from cities and villages from across the state, also trustees, sometimes clerks go. They can all come together and kind of network, talk about what works here, this is where we struggled, this is what we did to resolve that. It's a great information gathering, it's great for networking. There's also usually vendors there. People like Labella might go there so we can talk to them about services that we could tap into. We get a lot of great grant information as well. This particular meeting is heavy on the budget and what the state budget looks like and how that's going to impact cities and villages. So yeah.
There are also impactful classes that are held, informational sessions. Previous ones we've been to would be civil service reform,
There's a
cannabis,
women's,
there's a cannabis informational session.
College communities?
Yeah,
Yeah.
communities with colleges, so you can network with, in that particular one, with other communities that have state schools as well, and you can ask them you know, find out what issues they're having, what they're doing. You know, you can explain what's going on in your community, and they might offer some suggestions of how you can better network and work with the schools in your community. So we've always come away from there, I think, smarter than when we walked in, and it's definitely worth the couple days that we're there and the small amount of money it costs. And it gives us a chance to know better the issues that sometimes if we're just here, we feel like we're facing these issues all on our own, and we're not. The issues that we're facing, they're being faced by communities all over New York State. And so you don't feel like you're on an island and you're struggling and drowning and there's no help out there. You learn where the help is, how to get it, and that there are people more than willing to assist. So.
Thank you. Is there any reason to go into executive session at this time? If
Nope.
not, I ask for a motion.
Mayor, can we talk about the, under old business procedures for submission and creation of resolutions?
Certainly.
Okay. Does everybody have that form? And it was the one, Trustee Twitchell, that we had referenced earlier. There are a couple of items that give me pause. And it involves having only the village attorney write resolutions, which we haven't been doing in the past anyway, and it would be at a greater expense to the village if we asked our attorneys to write every resolution that is presented in front of us. So I suggest that maybe we all take a look at the February 10th, 2020 Board of Trustees regular meeting laws of how resolutions are presented and proposed, and maybe come back in 2 weeks with some suggestions of how we might want to update that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Because this wasn't followed
No, it
for
wasn't.
the past 2 years.
And if it's gonna be a
Right.
law, let's enact
We
one that
should
we will
review
follow.
it.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Any further discussion? Okay, I ask for a motion to adjourn the workshop portion of tonight's meeting.
We don't need a motion.
We don't need that.
Don't need a motion, I just wanted this for things to get. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back at 7:30 with tonight's meeting. Thank you. Part of tonight's meeting, which is the regular organizational meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia. And this being my first meeting as mayor, I want to take a little liberty to thank some people before we get into the business of the village. I want to thank you, the people that are here tonight, and the people that are watching, for your interest and participation in your village government. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve you for the next 4 years. I want to thank former Mayor Doug Essick for his term as mayor, and before that, his term as trustee. Mr. Jim Linden, who's with us tonight, who's served this community for over 14 years. And we thank you for the time and all the commitment that he's put into the community. And we're glad he's still here as a resident. Mr. Dave Bird, who served 2 years. And our two returning, well, actually 3 returning trustees, but 2 that were there before, Trustee Nicole and Trustee Michelle. And thank you for your services to this community. We appreciate it. We also want to thank the DPW, Embrace Fredonia, Denise Skalkowski, and so many other local businesses and residents for the wonderful Christmas decorations this year. It was great to see the community lit up, and we got a lot of compliments on it. The last thing I want to talk about is, during my time here in the community, there have been a lot of criticism of departments, of people, of trustees, of former mayors and current mayors, and all those things. And I'd like you to keep in mind the fact that this is done out of love for the community. Everyone here, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, are here to make the community better than it was yesterday. And that's it. There's nothing nefarious going on. There's nothing that is behind the scenes. You don't have time for it. What my vision as I ran for this community was when we are in this room, party affiliation stays out there. You don't make decisions based on what party you're in. I'm not saying that's been done, but I want to assure you that the people sitting at this table are here to continue the good work of past mayors and just take it another step forward. As my father used to tell me, there's a reason why the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror. You have to be able to move forward as a community. So I thank you for that opportunity. And keep in mind, on nights, and I know this because I'm guilty of it, on nights when there's a water main break and its windshield factor is 20 below zero, and you're sitting at home with your cup of hot chocolate watching the Bills win, hopefully, there's men and women that work in that department that are down in that hole, in the mud, in the dirt, doing the work that none of us would do unless we absolutely had to. When you're laying in bed and you hear a siren go off, that's your policemen, your firemen that are responding and putting their lives potentially at danger to save others and to protect you. So while it's easy to criticize and it's easy to be armchair quarterbacks, keep in mind that these people are on your side 24 hours a day. There's no hierarchy here. We are all equal in what we do for this community. These ladies sitting next to me do a yeoman's a portion of the work for this community. Our trustees, you can hear the passion in their voice, take the time and the effort to go to meetings, to talk to people, for you, the general public. And we are here at the will of you. We are here at the will of the people, and we're here to serve you. And I hope I can speak for all the trustees, which I'm sure I can. We will be proud to serve you for the time that we are in service. So thank you. With that, I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Board of Trustees on Monday, January 8th at 7:30 p.m. Can we have a roll call of the trustees? Trustee Twitchell?
Here.
Trustee Wendell?
Here.
Trustee Syracuse?
Here.
Trustee Brockler?
Here.
Trustee Esperson?
Here.
All right. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no minutes tonight for approval, so we will move to the public portion of this meeting. The portion of the meeting is for, well, that's your, I'm reading your part, right? Okay, well, I'll continue. The portion of this meeting is for the public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand at the microphone, state your name and address if you will. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if you're speaking for yourself, 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, not germane to any action or contemplated by the board. Once again, some people have spoken before, some have not. Let us be cognizant and respectful of their time as well. I know we got a lot of people that want to speak tonight, and this is their time to do so, and we welcome it. So there's a clock here. You're going to hear a little beep when we reach 3 minutes. And is there anybody that would like to come to the microphone? Yes, sir.
My name's Andrew Ludwig. I live at 30 Ryan Place, Fredonia, New York. Looking at the agenda tonight, I see that Trustee Twitchell has a resolution to rescind the vote that was taken on December 26th. And I would like to encourage the board to support that and rescind the vote that was taken on December 26th, and here's why. The vote that was taken on December 26th was taken by two trustees. They participated in that. They are no longer in office. The mayor who commented on that is no longer in office, and I would think that these trustees have a responsibility to the public to find out what the public wants and to move in that direction. I watched the Meet the Candidates. None of the trustees at the Meet the Candidates forum had a decision on what way they were going to go with the water decision. Okay, you all said, oh, we're gonna wait and see what the study says, we'll wait and see what the study says. So the people that voted you in had no reason to vote for you in terms of what was gonna be done with the water district or with the water treatment plant or with the reservoir. I also think this is much too important of a decision to put on 5 people. And I'd like to take some of the pressure off of the 5 of you, and let's hear from the public. So I would ask that you rescind the vote that was taken on December 26th and put the choices up to the public in a referendum so we can hear from the whole public. And I've had some trustees say, well, I talked to this person or I talked to that person. No way you talked to every person that voted for you. No way you talked to every person that didn't vote for you. The only way we're going to hear from everybody on which direction to go is if we have a referendum. And in addition to that, I want to speak in support of the compromise that former Mayor Essick presented at that December 26th board meeting. I think it was a fantastic idea. So rebuild the dam, upgrade the water treatment plant, and connect to Dunkirk. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board? Well, we have someone coming up.
Oh, yes. Fredonia Water. Okay. I'm here to back up what Andy just said. I know that I've talked to some of you. I've talked to Paul. I've talked to various board members, or, before they were elected. And it was all, oh, what do you think? We'd like to, really consider this. We're not sure what we want to do. And I'd like to remind you that you're here, and by the way, congratulations to all of you. And we're happy, and thank you for doing this, because I certainly wouldn't want to do it, And I know that you hear from people, who may not like what you're doing, and it can get ugly sometimes. But always remember that you're here to represent me and all of us here, okay? We're not here to represent Dunkirk. I love Dunkirk, it's great. I love the lake, okay? It's a wonderful lake. But we know there are problems with microplastics. We know there are problems with algae blooms right down the road, okay? So we're not here to represent Dunkirk, but we'd like to work with Dunkirk. We're not here for Labella. Engineering firms are wonderful. My son-in-law is an engineer. We like them to make a lot of money. But your responsibility is to us, okay? And then the county, that's another whole entity. And if you've noticed the paper today, a few problems with the water district, financial, all kinds of problems, okay? So fortunately, we're not in the water district, and hopefully we will never be, okay? But I'd like to thank Michelle, because, she's been swimming against the current for a while, okay? And now we have new board members. Hopefully you can all think for yourselves, okay? And listen to us, because many of us here really care. We've been here a long time. The other thing is that Jim Sedota and Sam Trejo and others have been coming to these meetings month after month after month. They know this village better than anybody, okay? And they're making recommendations, and I'm not sure they're being heard. Okay, I don't know, because this is the first time I've ever come to I've been to plenty of school board meetings, but I've never been to a village board meeting. I've been lucky enough to avoid those. But, as I said, I think that, Sam and Jim, they're not getting paid to be here, okay? And I would recommend that when they speak, that, we listen to them, okay? And board members, especially the new ones, really, take a step back. Let's start fresh, and let's throw out. Last time it was 3-2, and the swing vote was complaining because he had to be here. Okay, well, my son was home from college, and I had to come to this meeting. Okay, that's not how we do business in Fredonia. Okay, so welcome new board members. I wish you well. Good luck, and please listen to your constituents, because we're not here for anyone else. Okay, we're number one. We want to work with the region. We have nothing against them. But Fredonia first, and we have good water. Most of the time, not always, but we're working on it. Thank you.
Yeah, right on 3 minutes, there you go. Anyone else like to speak on behalf?
Good evening, James Linden, 55 Castile Drive. I'm surprised that I have to be here already so soon. I asked this new board to rescind the rescind the December 26th resolution directing the purchase of water from Dunkirk and the reservoir drawdown and closing of the water treatment plant. The Board of Trustees have a duty to be fiscally responsible, and that decision to purchase water supply from outside the village was not responsible. My conversations with the village treasurer confirmed that. Evidenced by today's Observer article, the New York State Comptroller's opinion is consistent with mine. The North County Water District collaborative push was not and is not fiscally responsible. Neither is closing the village water system. The overwhelming show of hands to keep the village water supply raised by the many concerned citizens that did come to the public informational hearing should have carried a heavy weight in the decision. Who do you work for? Be responsible and fix this. And another subject, the special board, this is the mayor's second meeting, not the first. A special board meeting requested the morning of Thursday, January 4th, and held that afternoon at 3 p.m. was held outside the open meetings law and was a very poor decision. Also, another topic, the changes to the meeting schedule on the agenda tonight would diminish the public's participation and access and are more poor decisions. Thank you very much.
Jim Sedota, village resident, Fort Leon Place. I live on Fort Leon Place. I've spoken with you, met with you before about hiring a professional accountant to run your numbers, find out what both proposals cost. I have a pretty good idea what they are, but I'm not sure I have all the information because the part of the financials on the report were redacted. I don't understand why. But the only couple of numbers I'm going to throw out is number one, by the way, these numbers come from the village budget and from the report, the engineer's report. So these are not my numbers. I just put them in a budget format because that's what I used to do for 30 years. So it cost, in this budget number, it cost the village $818,000 a year to make water. That's all the water they produce, the 480 million gallons. If you buy Dunkirk water, or any outsider, it doesn't matter where it's from, but any outsider, they're going to charge you their rate, which is $387 a thousand, times 480 million gallons, because they're going to run it. They're going to charge you based on what comes out of the meter, and that's been publicized. That 480 million. That's 1.32 thousand gallons a day times 365 days. That's so we arrived at that number. When you get to the bottom line, because I don't want to throw a whole lot of confusion on this, but to buy, to stay with the village reservoir, our cost would go up about $5.60 a thousand over the present $4.95. That's alternate one. With alternate three, because of the high cost we would be buying water from Dunkirk, that cost would go up $8.92. $13.87 would be the number. I personally, I think both of these proposals are too expensive, but I'm not here to debate an engineer. I'm only reporting to you what I came up with. But I encourage you strongly, do yourself a favor. I would think as a board you'd want all the information, and you don't need to hear it from me. I'm just the messenger boy. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak before the board?
Rob Clark, village resident, East Main Street here in Fredonia. As you can see, there's more people are being bothered by the last village board vote to push the water to Lake Erie, burden Fredonia with the extraordinarily high infrastructure costs and raise our rates. But they'd be surprised that it passed by one vote, 3-2, over the holidays. And those passing voters are said to have rejected the real costing numbers provided by the former and current treasurer. It's really shocking how vulnerable we were, but Fredonia, as you can see, is catching on. And we have to be honest that push for the change was reprehensible. The long delay, then the rush, the calendar timing of the decisions, the squeeze on public input, the hiding of information, the skirting of process, the suspect expertise, the incomplete hiding of information, the skirting of process, the suspect expertise, the incomplete and biased analysis, and outright lying. And while most people are out shopping, decorating for the holidays, these local minority interests in league with outside interests were sighting an arrow upon the heart of the village. The coup de grace. The glorious finale. Traitors, closed-mouth perpetrators, completing their long-planned effort to seize our water supply and a lot of our money, now and forever. But it wasn't glorious. It was sad and clumsy, absent believable resolve. They looked sneaky. They looked like they knew it was wrong, faithless, but it did wake up the village. So now a question remains. Who among you wants to let this persist? Some of you may want to remain a tool of the highly questionable maneuvering, but who among you still has the interest of the village in your heart to serve those who elected you? We're looking for 3 or more trustees to step up to vote to suspend the December resolution and take a detailed and honest look at a more sensible and lower cost ways the village can get on a path to compliance with a robust water supply, which should include buying some water from Dunkirk. And I also caution you, as any of the proponents to this switch may rush something that's irreversible to you to sign. Pay attention. Before you guys vote or sign off on anything, make sure you fully understand all the ramifications. There are people out there who ain't playing. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Thanks, guys.
Anyone else want to speak before the board tonight? Oh, hang on. We got Susan, we got Sam coming up real quick.
First of all, congratulations, Mayor, there you are, on your election, and to trustees, Wandell and Ben Brockler, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm not going to go into everything I went into at the last meeting, but the options that were offered by LaBella need to be carefully reviewed and analyzed, and that's impossible, as I mentioned, in 2 meetings. This is too important of an issue to leave to 2 meetings. You owe it to the people of the village of Fredonia to study that report thoroughly. Bring in the planning board, bring in experts. It's too important of an issue. A few issues I noticed in the LaBella report that I'd like to note. LaBella stated at the last meeting and in its report that there were 3 small Pomfret water districts served by Fredonia. There are not 3, there are 11 water districts. They're all served out by the village, and these people depend on Fredonia for their water. 4 of them are fairly large districts. I'll just quickly run down. Berry Road Water District, very large water district. Chestnut Street Water District, Seymour Street, Lakeview Avenue, Pomfret North End Phase 1 Water District, a very large water district. Route 60 Water District on the east side of Route 60, which includes Patton Electric, Denny's. Dunkirk's Plaza in the town of Dunkirk, Movieplex Theater. Route 60, south of Route 20, Pomfret, includes Wendy's and 2 car dealerships. There's the Chautauqua Road Water District. These all depend on the village of Fredonia for their water, and they've been consistently and faithfully served by our village. I can't remember any complaints from any of those districts about adequate water pressure or sufficiency of water. The Labella report does state that there has not been a reported history of drought leading to a significant shortage of water. Labella states, therefore, it is believed that the reservoir has adequate capacity for continued use as a public water supply. I was there when they did have 2 bad droughts, but the village went through that drought, supplied the water. They got some water from Upper Cassadaga Lake for a very short period of time, which it probably didn't need. The Labella report also states that the city of Dunkirk between 2019 and 2021 made attempts to restore at its water treatment capacity 800 gallons per minute, or to restore to its system 800 gallons per minute. Labella states that despite improvements, the city contends that to avoid negative impacts to city customers, it can only provide the village up to 300 gallons per minute. For long durations, it can only provide 800 gallons per minute in a true emergency. Labella recommends that the city water system be upgraded to allow 800 gallons per minute or greater flow. Who pays for the upgrades to the city system?
Sam, just reminding you, we're at 3 minutes.
Yep, I'm finishing. Also, can the city deliver water to all parts of the village in the water district without expensive pumps or use of electricity? Our present system doesn't require any pumps, any electricity, and it's a beautiful system. The village has never had a problem in providing water to all its residents in water districts, all without pumps or use of electricity to run the pumps. Regarding the proposed hospital, the village has consistently provided water to the area where the hospital is proposed to be located, including Tuscany, fast food stores, and Walmart. There has never been any complaints from those customers about adequacy of water or pressure. The village water system needs improvements, but in my opinion, I believe, in the opinion of many Fredonia residents, the successful history of the village water system to consistently serve its customers over many years should be continued with improvements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else looking to speak before the board tonight?
Yes. Gus Pocknick. Okay, a couple things here. First of all, the consultant people that you have, okay, that's one thing, but has anybody contacted the Corps of Engineers? Okay, my father used to work for the Corps for, I don't know, 30-some years, and he built a bunch of ponds, lakes, and ended up being a reservoir ranger at Kinzu Dam. And years ago, he was talking to different mayors, I won't mention their names, but he said they should, because he knew hydraulics very well, and he knew what it needed. And the other thing is, has anybody taken consideration that if you do away with our water, is it going to make a large impact? Are we ever going to be able to get like another Red Wing or another company here? Are they just going to move to Dunkirk? Because why come to Fredonia when are the rates guaranteed? No. And I would like to see more transparent contract. The public doesn't even know what the contract reads. Okay, is there stipulations that we can never produce water again? What are the stipulations of this contract? Are we financing Dunkirk's loans to improve their infrastructure without doing our infrastructure? And also, is there private individuals that may have a little bit of, that want this to go another way because maybe there's developments that people are looking at that reservoir for. The reservoir is beautiful. There's eagles. It's a great thing. As far as the infrastructure, yeah, we need to bring it up. We need to improve it. There's got to be grant money out there. I would rather see the village spend more money to a grant finder or whatever to improve our infrastructure. Now, the IDA for the county, they try to bring in all these businesses, and I hate to say it, but why can't they help what's already here to improve our infrastructures so we could get industry? Because who's going to be attracted to Fredonia if we import water or any kind of other resource? So, you know, it's not even an argument. I mean, we should be the first to look at our own people and our own community, okay? I'm sure Dunkirk's got a ton of loans and a bunch of stuff they want to pay, and who's to guarantee it? I haven't read the contract. I would like to see the contract, because who's to guarantee if it's so much 1,000 today, what's going to be 3 years from now? Is that locked in forever or what? I mean, where is the verbiage in the contract?
It's 3 minutes, sir. It's 3 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Gus, just to let you know, the Army Corps of Engineers is part of that study, and there's no contract yet. We haven't even discussed any contract yet.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Sure.
There's no contract yet. Is there any kind of verbiage that they put together?
No,
The
hasn't even
Dunkirk?
gotten to that point yet. So-
It hasn't?
No, sir.
Wow, okay. Well, are we gonna be able to see it? And why was the vote taken? I know I already did my 3 minutes.
It's okay.
Why was the vote taken? You've got a new administration, and, I mean, there was no, I mean, was that just leverage to say, okay, this is what we're doing, and we're gonna do it now? I mean, why should it?
We had a deadline that was set. by the
Okay,
county
so you
council.
met the deadline.
Right.
I hate to interrupt you, this is not a question and answer session.
It's not a question and answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
it's just
okay.
not.
I'm
Sorry.
glad you stopped me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak before the board? Susan, I believe you did.
Run, Susan, run.
Oh, Susan was up.
Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate that. Yeah, my name's Susan Parker. I'm a county legislator, and I also live at 82 Newton Street. And I wanted to point out that several of us, including Michelle and John and the mayor, were at the meeting, the county meeting, where we were brought, and other people too, I'm sure, a bunch of county people and the Department of Health, when we discussed the catastrophic need for improvement or change in the reservoir. I need to point out that in 1967, there was a water study done. My daughter brought it from Albany at Thanksgiving so that we could look at it. But in 1967, the water report said either the reservoir should be moved up to Shumla Road, which is like near Arkwright or something, and the actual water treatment plant should be relocated, or else Fredonia should connect to Dunkirk. In 1998, the Department of the DEC mandated the village develop, this was after the drought, there had been 10 in 50 years, develop a permanent alternate source of water, 1998. 2008, the county came again and discussed, and there was a whole nother water story, a water study. And again, this has been recommended for years. Okay, so I just want to say that. And the second thing is, we were told by the county that the state of the water treatment plant and the dam and the spillway was such that we were at risk for a catastrophic failure. Second thing I want to say, or the third thing, or whatever number, is that the fact that there are a lot of people here is not an indication of the entire village. And it's they call that a confirmation bias. You've probably seen a lot of behavioral economics indicates that. When you see people who agree with you, you tend to think that's everyone. And that isn't everyone. And I've talked to a lot of people too. And I'm not going to assume that I know what everyone thinks. But I have faith in the village and what they have done in the last few months. I know that Michelle and John and the mayor and the county were all part of regular meetings to discuss questions, any questions that needed to be asked or answered by Labella, that anything that needed to be done. And this is not a fly-by-night operation. This was done very thoroughly, and from this point on, I believe this will be done thoroughly too. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board tonight?
Good evening. My name is Doug Usick. I reside at 18 Ventura Circle, and this is special to be at this end of the podium. I urge the board not to rescind this vote. I encourage the board, the last board, to move forward and make a decision. This water issue that we've had is not new. This study is similar to the study from 2017 and previous studies. So this is an issue that's been going on for decades, and I believe it needed to be addressed. As far as the previous board making that decision, this hasn't been the first major decision that a board in the Village of Fredonia made before a new board took office. 2 boards ago, we had a board that made a decision on cannabis and allowing cannabis dispensaries in the village, and that board did not feel any remorse at all to make that decision and not let the new board make that decision. So it has been done before, and there was no public outcry on that decision from what I remember. I had proposed a compromise plan which included keeping the reservoir and the spillway and the dam and including the interconnect. But the only reason I had proposed that is because I saw that the reservoir and the spillway and the dam and the treatment plant are going to be limited, in my estimation and my opinion. It has a finite source of water, and if we could have utilized the reservoir and the dam and the water treatment plant until its life and then move on to the emergency interconnect. I also want to remind our residents right now that your water bills actually should be more than what they are right now, because currently we do have revenue that is generated by water sales, but our costs are far higher. I think right now we're losing around $200 and some thousand this year or last year on the water budget, and with the wastewater treatment we're about $500,000 in the red. So currently what we're doing isn't working, and one way or another, regardless of if we did nothing, your rates both for sewer and water should increase. So I just implore this board to continue moving forward. There are consequences if you do rescind this. The county health department and the state health department and EPA could issue a consent order on the village. And that would be something that would be out of your hands. That would be in the decision of those entities, and you would do what you were told to do. City of Dunkirk, that's how they made their $25 million improvements to their plant, was they had a consent order from the health department. I don't believe they wanted to do all that work, but it was consented. So there are consequences to rescinding that decision. I'm not saying that will happen, but that could be a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board?
Dick Leone, 4 Lowell Place, Fredonia resident. You've heard some of this before, I'm going to repeat it again. But just listening to a lot of the comments, the comment about rescinding the resolution, I don't think that's necessary at this point. And that's the key issue at this point. We don't know enough at this point, okay, to determine which issue or which option we should really take. There's 3 options in the Labella report. One of them is probably totally useless. The option to dismantle the whole operation, dismantle the dam, return the reservoir to a creek status. That's extremely expensive and totally overworked. It's totally overwhelming. You don't need to do that. So we really have 2 options. One is option 1. Keep the reservoir, keep the plant, make the improvements we need. Option 2, reduce the dam level, the reservoir level down to use to a non-critical level as far as the dam is concerned, and mothball the plant. Okay, there are significant cost differences between those two options. Now, I picked up that, you know, in my estimation, just reading what I could see in the report. Now, that redacted report did not give anyone enough information to make any sort of decision on this kind of a project. Okay? The details of finances, the details of the mechanics and the operational requirements, all of that stuff has to be finalized. We need to take each individual option and do a very detailed, very thorough plan as to what that option will cost, how it will be implemented, what phases, what time frame, where's the money coming from, and do it on option 1, do it on option 3. What you're going to find is this. Option 1, at least from the numbers I saw in the redacted report, which I notice there are people that have the unredacted report. Why, I don't know, but there are. The option that from what I saw in that report, if I read it correctly, and I may have made a mistake, I have been known to do that, the first option, it appears to me, is about $30 million over 30 years less money. If I can have a couple of more minutes, please. The second option that we're talking about, it's about $24 million or less over 30 years to do option 1. The first 30 million was option 1 versus option 2. Therefore, you know, you come down to it. Once we get a detailed implementation plan in place, a detailed study that shows both options, what they cost, what they can do, how they're going to be done. Remember, you're talking about pumping 1 million, what was the number, Jim? I'm sorry. 1.32 million gallons a day, up 5 miles, 800 feet high, to get it to a point where you're going to have to put it in a new tank and let the gravity flow come down to feed the customer base that we have that relies totally on gravity flow.
Please wrap up, sir, when you get a chance.
In any case, I don't see a lot of collusion. I don't go for the fact that, well, you know, somebody may be trying to make a buck here or do this, that, or they got an ulterior motive. I don't think that's it. I think everybody's pretty much looking at this and going, yes, we need to do this. But there are pressures. There have been pressures on this village for several, however many years now since the water district was planned and implemented. We've been pushed very hard to join that district. And I do see more pressures, more of these pressures being implemented today, okay? We just need to take this slowly, do it in a totally planned basis. You've got good people in this village that can work with you on these kinds of this kind of a project. You've got good engineers. It doesn't take, you know, it doesn't take a rocket science to do this. So I just implore you, it doesn't really matter if you rescind that today or not. I agree with someone who said that it probably would be a bad idea at this point, simply because of the option the county and the state could take. We made a choice. It's a preliminary choice. You know, Dave Bird said as much when he made his final comments that night. So fine. Once we find out exactly what this is going to take, we know option 1 is this, here it is. Option 2 is this, here it is.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to make a statement to the board?
My name is Marcia Johnson. I live at 138 Cushing Street in Fredonia. I've heard a lot of interesting statements today. One was that is full of fiction and conspiracies. Some that say we need to know exactly how much this is going to cost. I think people don't understand how these things work. You can never know how much everything is going to cost before you do it. You have to put things out to bid. We don't know what the bid is. Other people say we have to know what the grants will be. You don't know what the grants are going to be. You have to make a decision and go forward with it. And this is what the board has done. We need to move forward. A decision has been made. This is not a bad choice. Over 11 million people get their water from Lake Erie. It is safe for us. We have to go forward. We can't just keep questioning and questioning it. As someone else said, this is what when the health department made their first a statement about it, I was scared. And I think most of you should have been. We can't just keep putting this off and acting like we can go on forever. Legislator Parker mentioned, this was mentioned in 1967, I think. We can't put this off. I'm urging you you made a decision. There's no reason for anyone to go back on it. Move forward. That's what we need to do. People are afraid of change. I do understand that. But change can be good, better for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight before the board? Is there anyone else who would like, okay.
Hi, I'm Marie Sedona. I live in the village of Fredonia at 22 Suzanne Court. And I just don't understand why we want to give up a source of water. Like, this is a backup source. Like, there's the lake water, great, but there's this water and it just comes down I just don't understand why we would be willing to give this up. Like, it just seems like there should be, like, it could be a, a backup source for any, if there's a problem, I just don't understand. It just seems like a no-brainer to me, and obviously, the numbers, the cost, like, this is gonna cost us so much more money, and I'm just upset, so I hope you please take this very seriously. This is our drinking water.
Thank you.
Hello, Patrick Stokes, 41 Risley Street. Cognitive bias, all the confirmation bias. We've talked about a lot of these things. I'm uniquely qualified to be here talking about it because I was on the Chautauqua Regional Development Corporation, and I was the director of that for 2 years in the final phases of the formation of the water district. I've read the reports, I've seen the reports. This didn't happen in a vacuum overnight. This has been ongoing for, when the initial thoughts were in 2012 and the processes began. What we have is just massive amounts of information that are out there, and everybody's saying, I don't know what's happening. This has just happened. This is a surprise. It's not. We have a crumbling infrastructure. We need to fix it. Now, here's an example. We shut it down once, and then we keep spending the money once, or we can just spend $20 million every 10 years to keep upgrading it and fixing it. So if we look at in those processes, that goes on forever, then we pass the ball to future generations. So and I've also been on the Dunkirk Sheridan Empire zones. I've worked with many companies that I know recently would not move here because of the water sources. You can say there's no definitive proof the carriage house left because water sources, but they were shut down for 2 weeks, had to throw out product at a loss of millions and millions of dollars, and they lost all their profits for a quarter. We had contracts when I worked in another industry that if we made a mistake in not supplying that business to be able to do their business, we were responsible financially for that. So it could bankrupt us. So could you imagine a bill coming from the carriage house saying, you didn't supply us with the proper water, now pay us the $20 million you owe us. So all we need to do is expand the water line. Nobody's gone down and talked to the people in Dunkirk and who runs the water systems. They all have false information out there on capacities and filtration systems. The information's out there. It's not hidden. It's not thrown away. This isn't some nefarious, I've heard all sorts of hyperbole and everything else. But none of the, you have to go out and actually get the information and talk to the people who do these things. So thank you for moving us forward. Stay on track. All the information's out there. And in a few years, we're going to be talking about bigger and better things than this, and hopefully get some more businesses in this town. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak before the board tonight, before we close the public portion?
Natalie, can you have a
you wanna-
statement? Thank you.
Let me go over this.
Oh, hang on just a second, Natalie. Natalie, hang on just one moment.
Ray Dye, 15 Burnett Drive. In today's day and age, conflicts are becoming increasingly widespread. It's incredibly disheartening to see that even here in our small town of Fredonia, an issue as important as a vital piece of public infrastructure, water, can become such a polarizing issue. If you don't know me, I'm a reporter for Fredonia High School's student newspaper, The Spectator. Standing here today, I'm making a choice to do this. I could be solving law of science problems. I could be doing an essay that's due tomorrow, or attending the baseball game tonight, which, by the way, would be a lot more fun. But I chose not to. Why? Because I care. As a reporter, it's my job to examine something troubling. It's my job to examine an issue thoroughly and without bias. Through the lines of countless pages of interview notes, something troubling is emerging. Not only is our town incredibly polarized on this issue, but our divide is on partisan lines. As someone who has seen all sides of this incredibly complex issue, I believe that the current divided state of our village is not one that benefits anyone. It is a great disservice to the people of our town, no matter which side you stand on. We cannot let Fredonia become a microcosm of our country's current political state. As those who represent our community and whose duty it is to improve our community, it is your job to improve our water system. And while it may not be the easiest solution or the most popular solution, building consensus among the trustees, among the public, among the people who represent our beautiful village is crucial during this time. It is the right solution. It is what's right for our village. I firmly believe that this is the only way to move forward with a solution that can best serve the many residents of our village. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm Natalie Whiteman from the Health Department. I just want to make it clear that regardless of what decisions are made tonight for rescinding or whatnot, we are tasked with enforcing Part 5 of the New York State Sanitary Code. That sanitary code requires that within 120 days of being notified of significant deficiencies, the water system either have them all addressed and rectified, or have a corrective action plan in place to have them addressed and corrected. That 120 days, the clock started ticking on July 11th. We are well past that. Realizing that the village had already engaged Labella to do a report, we agreed to allow that can to be kicked down the road an extra 6 weeks so that you did have time to digest their report, as it were. We're still not done here. We still need some sort of corrective action plan going forward. We need what steps are going to be taken. We need to know dates by which they're going to be taken. Or Part 5 requires us to make Tier 1 notification to all of your public customers, as well as to the state and the EPA, of all of the issues that have not been addressed from that July 11th letter. And there are many of them. So regardless of what happens, we still need some kind of corrective action plan going forward. We're not done here. We didn't satisfy everything by taking a vote a couple of weeks ago. And if that vote is rescinded, then technically you're in violation. You did not meet the requirements of having your significant deficiencies addressed, which will require type 1 notification, which is the same thing that we do for boil water orders. So everybody gets a phone call. It's got to be put in the paper. It's got to be sent to every water customer. And all of those violations have to be reported to the state and EPA. So that's where we stand tonight.
Thank you. Pardon? We usually don't do that. I apologize for that. We'll have another meeting on the 22nd, and I'm not trying to block you from making a comment, Fanny. That's all. But we have trustee committee reports, please, from Trustee Twitchell first. I'm sorry. Before we go there.
Isn't there
My fault, first meeting. Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board for the first time? Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board? Is there anyone else that would like to speak before the board? Now we're closing the public portion of the meeting. Correspondence, we had no correspondence for this week. Mayor's report, I sort of gave that an overview right now. We've got a number of meetings scheduled, department head meetings and more, and I will update you on those in future mayor's reports. I will say that we are looking to change the starting times of the meetings beginning on the 22nd so that more people can attend. And also so that the people that are working, like yourselves, like the people in this room, can get home a little bit earlier. So we're proposing that our meetings start at 7 o'clock with the regular meeting. And that would help us to get to where we need to be. That's also the reason why we're looking to change our workshops to another time. Not to hide anything, not to keep those are open to the general public, but to allow the main meeting like this to gather the information that you need on certain decisions, but again, have been kicked down the road in the past because we don't have enough information or have been told we don't have enough information to make a decision. It's also to be transparent with our residents. I was looking to actually move this up into the court area, but the courts are in session at the same time that we're moving here. One, so you don't have to sit in these wonderful plastic chairs, and we could have a little more space for you as residents. But we will also, the one thing I do want to mention, we will be forming a board, as we mentioned earlier, of citizens for the New York Main Street Grant, and we will be posting opportunities for you to apply for those positions. So that's the end of the correspondence. That's the end of my mayor's report for tonight. And we will open with trustee committee reports. Sorry for the delay there, but Trustee Twitchell.
Okay, I did want to address the special meeting. I received a message from you on Thursday, 3 hours prior to having a special meeting. And I asked you what the question, why were we doing this? And the answer was very vague. You didn't tell me specifically. It didn't sound like it was an emergency for the village board. And I never received any information until today about what that meeting was about. But I just wanted you to know that having a special meeting usually requires 72-hour notice for a meeting. But you were calling it in 3 hours. And this information, that was on January 4th. Now, January 3rd, I was here, and you and I met, and we spoke. I realize you don't know everything about how to handle a situation like this. So I just wanted to bring it forward to let everyone know that there was a special meeting and there were minutes from the special meeting. Now, you asked for approval of minutes at tonight's meeting and you said there were no minutes taken. No meeting.
I'm being told that there were no meeting. Let me please explain what that was for. We're in need of a hospital in the community. The administrator of the hospital reached out to me and said, we are trying to recruit surgeons for this hospital. Would you be willing to sign a letter of support encouraging these doctors to come and live and work in Chautauqua County? Okay, I realize that most people think that the mayor's job is to kiss babies and to cut ribbons. That's not what I was elected to do, and I will admit that at the time, I didn't realize I had to call a meeting to sign a letter of support for something that this community desperately needs. And it was nothing more than, we support the doctors, we encourage you to come to our beautiful village. Now, if I'm in violation of that, then I am as guilty as heck for doing that.
Mr. Mayor, you never explained it to me that way.
I was sent, I talked to you for a very
Today.
loud meeting today for an hour and a half.
That's correct. And
Okay,
this is
so there
how
is no
many days
nefarious
after that meeting.
reason that we're hiding information or any of those things.
Can I suggest that Melanie weigh in on the,
Special meeting
the
rules?
special meeting law and
Also the approval of the minutes is
yeah,
not
and the
legally required.
absolute necessity of publicizing and having a 72-hour notice?
Sure, so it's section 104 of the open meetings law. The first subsection talks about what I would call as a regularly scheduled meeting, and it states that public notice of the time and place of the meeting scheduled at least 1 week prior thereto shall be given or electronically transmitted to the news media, shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations at least 72 hours before such meeting. That's the general requirement for open meetings law. Subsection 2 says public notice of the time and place of every other meeting, so that would be a special meeting, of every other meeting, shall be given or electronically transmitted to the extent practicable to the news media, and shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations at a reasonable time prior thereto. There's no set time frame in that subsection, and again, it's not publication of a notice, but it's notice to the news media and conspicuous postings in 2 places. The legislature, also added an additional subsection within the last few years, subsection number 5, which says when a public body has the ability to do so, notice of the time and place of a meeting given in accordance with subdivision 1 or 2, so a regular meeting or a special meeting, shall also be conspicuously posted on the public body's internet website. Before I came to the meeting today, I did notice that I believe the village clerk has the meeting notice and the meeting minutes from that meeting on the 4th, if I recall correctly. So that's generally speaking, not generally speaking, I just read from the open meetings law, subsections 1, 2, and 5 of section 1.
So hearing where it says, if able or.
To the extent practicable
Right.
is the other phrase.
So I'm assuming whoever wrote that law foresaw that there may be instances or emergencies when that was not going to be possible, right? Let's say there's an earthquake and we're not waiting 72 hours to have a meeting and make sure it's publicized. There are emergencies where that 72-hour time frame and the need to post it can be eliminated. The notice to go to the special meeting was emailed to all of us at the same time. So those that could make it and were interested showed up and attended that meeting. And that's all I have to say about that.
So, Trustee Esperson,
Yes,
my
ma'am.
point is, all I was told that it was to hire a doctor. The hospital required a letter to hire a doctor.
And that's what it was about.
To me, yes, I'll show you the email.
I got the email.
Oh, well, you must remember that.
I
what
do.
he said.
Very well, thank you.
And to me, that was not an emergency. But now he's saying it's because of the hospital, that it was in reference to the hospital, and I never heard that explanation until today.
In the
So
estimation of the person calling the meeting, it was an emergency, it needed to happen because they needed it that day. Right, so it's not like they
That
could
wasn't
wait.
explained to me.
Okay, all right.
I didn't receive either one of these letters here until today, and they're both from January 4th.
They were available at the meeting. If you would have gone to it, you'd have had it.
See, No one told me that there was a further explanation on what this special meeting was about. Nobody contacted me. I explained, I shared the law, as Melanie had stated, about having an emergency meeting.
You received as much information
And-
as the 3 trustees did that attended it.
Well, I had more questions, maybe.
Then maybe you should have called and had them answered.
Okay, can we move on, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank
to
you.
The entire village of Fredonia.
Well, I just
I
want,
apologize for trying to help the hospital project move forward, and I promise that special meetings will certainly not take place unless we're following the letter of the law. And I have tried very hard in the 4 days I've been mayor to try to read every one of those pages
That's why I
and
was
haven't
trying to
gotten
help
there
you,
just
Mayor,
yet.
to
Well, I
tell you
appreciate
that.
you helping me with that. Did you have anything else on committee reports tonight?
I have no other committee reports at this time.
Thank you. Trustee Wendell, do you have a report for us tonight?
Yes, no, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Syracuse, do you have a
Nothing,
report?
nothing to report.
Trustee Brockler?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Esperson?
I'm going to apologize before I get started. This may take a little bit of time. I feel compelled to clarify and correct the many inaccuracies that have been publicly stated regarding the ongoing water decision and discussions. To not correct these inaccuracies is paramount to being complacent in the ongoing effort to frighten and deceive the public. At a recent Board of Trustees meeting, Mrs. Landis stated that if we decommission the water treatment plant or dam, we could only bond that project for 10 years. As Mrs. Landis is fully aware, because there will be other substantial water system expenses, the interconnect, that project can be bonded for up to 40 years, but 25 to 30 years is more realistic. This factual information comes from our bonding company. In a recent Observer article, Trustee Twitchell stated they, and I'm assuming she means we, rushed into it. We didn't get to discuss much. Then all of a sudden it's like, let's take a vote. As anyone who has been paying a modicum of attention knows, the water discussion has dominated our meetings for months. Additionally, she was well aware that a vote had to be taken when it was, due to timelines we were obligated to meet. In that same article, she stated that the plan chosen seems crazy because no one knows what the cost to install water pumps would be or the cost of electricity to power them. As she knows, the cost of the chosen option can be found on pages 1 and 2 under the addendum labeled Option 3, Cost Analysis. She goes on to say that we failed to consider competitive bids from other regional providers. If that was something she was concerned about, she was present at all our meetings with Abella. She sent questions to them after the report was out, but is choosing now to voice this concern. Additionally, what other regional providers is she referring to? Is the Erie County Water Authority the only other regional supplier, and that water would have to come through other lines to reach us. She's worried about the cost of pumps to get water from the proposed interconnect on Willowbrook. How many more pumps would it require to obtain water from Erie County? Not to mention the fact that water she calls full of contaminants is the water used by Erie County. Again, in the same article, she's concerned about eliminating a major revenue source if we stop producing water. As she knows, in 2022, water revenue was a negative $266,387. In 22-23, the water revenue was a negative $335.91, and the projected negative revenue this year will be $588,465. So in 3 years, our revenue is a negative $1,189,090 and $1,189,943. If that is a revenue she's concerned about eliminating, I would think we'd be willing to celebrate eliminating that revenue. We can expect that trend to continue unless we immediately double water rates. We are borrowing money from our reserve fund to make up for this major revenue. Trustee Twitchell then turned her attention to the city of Dunkirk. What she reports is, and I quote, struggling to pay the bill of the millions of dollars of water improvements at their treatment plant. In a simple phone call, she would have discovered that 1/3 of that project was paid for through grants. The rest is being paid off through a 30-year, zero-interest loan that the 40-year contract with the North County Water District is covering. Trustee Twitchell, Mrs. Landis, and former trustee Linden, in an attempt to alarm Fredonia residents, listed the pollutants that are found in Lake Erie, yet failed to list impurities in the Fredonia Reservoir. Despite the water analysis the Department of Health provided, they claimed that the water of Dunkirk was of less quality and more toxic than that of our reservoir. In fact, the report shows that the quality is fairly equal, with water treated at the Dunkirk plant having a slightly higher quality. Lastly, Trustee Twitchell made a supposition that whatever agreement we reach with the city of Dunkirk, if we ever reach that point, will not contain guarantees and protections for the village. She wonders if future business expansion in the village could be stymied if Dunkirk refused to increase the water supply. The reality is that Dunkirk plant has a greater capacity than our reservoir and water treatment plant as they are currently constructed. If there was future business expansion in the village, we would be better positioned with an interconnect to a larger supply of water. The city, by any agreement signed, would not be able to reduce the amount of water sold to the village on a whim, as she suggests. The people that are speaking against the chosen option certainly have the right to do so. What they do not have the right to do is call something true or a fact when in reality it has no basis of truth. If you have to lie and deceive to make a point, the point you're trying to make has no validity. I urge all our residents to question each trustee when we report something to be fact or true. Ask where we got that information. Request proof of that. Please keep in mind the decision we made at the last meeting was the direction we chose to explore. No contracts have been signed, contemplated, discussed, or even necessary up to this point. Thank you.
Any further report, Trustee Esperson?
No.
I don't believe that I would be able to have a rebuttal about what he said about me personally.
Trustee Twitchell, just to let you know, these are quotes from the paper.
You know what, John? You never called me and asked me any of these questions. And now you're gonna give a report slamming me when you didn't even discuss it with me?
You didn't discuss with me.
You knew what I was thinking?
You didn't
You're
discuss with me
amazing.
when
You're
you had that in the paper.
gaslighting
Okay.
big time.
Thank you, trustees. Do we have a treasurer's report tonight? There's an additional report with code enforcement report for the month of December 2023.
Building permits issued 19, inspections 41, certificates of occupancy 19, certificates of compliance 10, violations found 10, violations satisfied 4. Fees collected, of those permit fees, $625, rental fees $775, certificate of compliance fees $525, for a total of $1,925. Rental inspections 5, rental renewals 9. Stop work orders are issued because of improper construction practices or failure to get a building permit. 19 permits generated $625 in revenue. The estimated cost of work for the month of December was $38,400. That's the only report I have.
Okay. Did we want to remind the new trustees of the process and procedures of the resolution?
Sure.
Do you have that? The next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe for next meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
We go to the resolutions now. Trustee Syracuse.
Be it resolved that the following appointed officials and employees are hereby appointed or reappointed to their respective positions and at their present salaries and benefits or salary and benefits as modified by board resolution or budget adoption for the ensuing official year commencing January 8th, 2024 and ending January 8th, 2025 unless sooner removed from office or employment as provided by the charter or other applicable law. Chief Inspection Officer, Building Inspector, Zoning Enforcement Officer, Chuck LaBarbera. Parks and Recreation Director, Francesca Seisel. Receiver of Taxes, Erlissa LeBeau. Street Supervisor and Commissioner, Scott Marsh. Associate Village Justice, Nancy Dietzen. Police Chief, David Price. Records Management Officer, the Village Clerk.
Second.
Hold on. Be it further resolved that the Board of
Oh.
Trustees further reserves all rights under the Charter and Section 75 of the Civil Service Law for removal or other disciplinary action for any past or future acts or conduct of employees or officers of the village which may fall within the purview of Section 75 of the Civil Service Law or the Charter.
I'll second that as amended because we changed the title of the Records Management Officer.
Okay. Motion to approve, trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
So moved.
Be it resolved that David Felt, Dunkirk, New York, is hereby appointed provisionally to the full-time position of Chief Operator at the wastewater treatment plant for the Village of Fredonia at a rate of $75,000 annually, effective January 11th, 2024, subject to civil service rules and regulations.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Whereas the Village Board of Trustees adopted a resolution at its December 26, 2023 meeting to decommission the water treatment plant and draw down the reservoir, and whereas the following December 26, 2023 board meeting, one or more trustees has received comments from Fredonia citizens who strongly disagree with the board's decision regarding the water treatment plant, and where such comments include statements that the resolution was adopted hastily before the village board had the opportunity for due diligence, and the board did not answer specific questions which are not detailed in Labella report, such as a cost analysis specific to the requirements to construct infrastructure allowing for distribution of water from Dunkirk, and why public engagement did not include referral to the Fredonia Planning Board and the New York State Environmental Law, and what is the after plan for the reservoir and its surrounding forest. Now be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby rescinds the resolution adopted by the board on December 26, 2023, a copy of which is included as Attachment A, and be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees shall adopt a responsible time frame to move forward, which shall be established at a later date.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Do we have a second on this resolution? Do we have a second on this resolution? Therefore, by New York State law, this resolution is dead.
Be it resolved that the following banks pursuant to Village Law, Section 4-4, are hereby designated the official banks for the Village of Fredonia for the year beginning January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024. Manufacturers and Traders Trust Co., 1 East Main Street, Fredonia, New York. MBIA Municipal Investors Service Corporation of Denver, Colorado. J.P. Morgan Chase & Co. of New York, New York.
Second.
Do we have a motion? Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Rondell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
So moved.
Be it resolved that the Observer, West Second Street, Jamestown, New York, is hereby designated the official newspaper of the Village of Fredonia for the year beginning January 1st, 2024,
Sorry.
and ending December 31st, 2024.
Good catch.
Second.
Do we have a motion to accept? Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
So moved.
Be it resolved that the schedule of workshops of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia for the period of January through June 2024, see attached, as set forth and attached to these minutes, as amended, is hereby approved. And be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to publish said notice in the mail, and to mail a copy of said schedule to WDOE Radio and the Dunkirk Observer as amended.
Second.
Motion to approve. Trustee Twitchell.
Nay.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
So moved.
Be it resolved that Stephen Aldrich, Water Street, Fredonia, is hereby appointed to the position of full-time police officer per his eligibility on the civil service certification of eligible candidates within the Village of Fredonia Police Department at an hourly rate of $27.34, subject to civil service rules and regulations, and subject to a probationary period of 52 weeks.
We need the information about when it takes effect.
Today?
This appointment shall be effective January 8th, 2024.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve, trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Be it resolved that Douglas Sanderson, Westfield, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of full-time emergency dispatcher trainee at an hourly rate of $20.14, subject to civil service rules and regulations, and subject to a provisional appointment until meeting the requirements of New York State Civil Service. This appointment shall be effective January 22nd, 2024.
Second.
Motion to approve, trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Wandell.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
So moved. Trustee Wandell, you have another?
No, that was,
Pardon?
Nope, that's it.
That's it?
yep.
Okay. Next meeting is scheduled to be the next Village of Fredonia Board meeting will take place Monday, January 22nd at 7 o'clock. New start time in the trustee room right here. Board of Trustees workplace will take place on Wednesday, the 17th at 9:30 a.m. And I have a motion to dismiss.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
We didn't.